Hi everyone, my name is Tove. Welcome back to my channel, ToveLoveKnits. I am a knitter, originally from Finland. I'm living now in the Netherlands with my husband and my 2 children. I usually have a podcast coming out quite regularly 2 times a month, but today I wanted to try something new, and that is to share some inspiration and plans about my fall knitting. Today is a quite beautiful sunny day here in Holland. The 1st of September has come and gone. Today I think it's the 4th. This means unofficially that you are allowed to cast on your first fall/winter sweater. This of course is nothing that you have to take as a rule of thumb, but it made me excited about knitting sweaters again. I have knitted quite a lot of summer knits this year, which have been really nice, but now I'm ready to just bundle myself up in these sweaters. Therefore, I'm wearing a sweater today. I have set up my computer. I have a list of 12 knits altogether that we will go through, and I've divided them into some kind of different, and I divided them into different categories. So let's start with transitional knits. This to me is still a little bit thinner weighted yarn, but still long sleeved and still a sweater to get you through like September, October. Let's start with the first pattern, which is Shocking Stripes by Tori Yu. Now, I've never knitted anything from Tori Yu before, but I've seen her designs, and and she usually has quite interesting techniques and setup on her knits, so I'm quite excited to try her patterns. This one is stripes, and you know how I love stripes, and it's a circular yoke, so that should also be very nice. It has some definitions and textures within the stripes that also would make it more interesting. It is for a sport weight yarn, and this is why it's a little bit more transitional, a little bit thinner than DK, of course. The gauge is 23 stitches per 10 centimeters. She has a bust circumference from 91 centimeters to 173, so it's quite inclusive. So that is I think a good start on our list. The second pattern is quite similar. I will keep myself in the stripe family, and that is Chica Cherry sweater by Veronica Lindberg, which is ToveLoveKnits. Although this one is for a worsted weight yarn, I would think that you could use it with a little bit of a mixed cotton with wool mix, for example, makes it a little bit easier to knit with. But this has this nice, very thin striped pattern or look, together with these frills on the shoulders, makes it quite fun. It is long sleeved, so I definitely wouldn't say it's a summer wear, and that's why I have included it in my transitional fall category. So as I said, the yarn weight would be worsted weight. The gauge is 18 stitches per 10 centimeters. And she has a size availability of XXS to 5XL. I find ToveLoveKnits quite nice in her inclusivity of sizes, for sure. It looks like the sweater is an off-shoulder setup with balloon sleeves and an I-cord ending. But what I'm really interested in me are these stripes. That to me would be a very potato chippy pattern. Right, Right, moving along. Keeping in sport weight territory, but adding in some more color work, we have our next pattern, which is the dot sweater adult by Pernilla Larsen, which is knitting for Olive. What really drew me to this design were, yes, the colors and the fact that you could definitely use, for example, your advent calendar for the different straps, or stash yarn, which is also a really, really nice idea. I do have an advent calendar coming, so we'll see if I'm going to use that for this purpose or not. But it's a raglan type sweater with very wide arms or sleeves, and a lot of these colored dots, therefore the name dot sweater. It's made to be used as fingering weight plus lace, which will give a sport weight with 23 stitches per 10 centimeter gauge. Sizes ranges from XS to 4XL, and you knitted from top down in the round with a raglan increase. Knitting for Olive is also a designer that I'm looking into more and more. She has a lot of kids stuff, specifically these sweaters with these intarsia dinosaurs or animals on the front, which is really cute. Last pattern in the sport weight category is this year's Rhinebeck sweater, Ooey Gooey, by Andrea Mowry, which is also known as Drea Renee Knits. Now, she has a knit-along every year, and she designs a sweater for Rhinebeck, the fair in New York. And this year's sweater really caught my attention because of the color work on the yoke and on the sleeves. I really love that. She uses a solid color, but a variated yarn or a fade would also look really, really nice. She recommends using a true sport weight, 24 stitches per 10 centimeters. And she has sizes ranging from 79 centimeters to 170 centimeters chest circumference, or 31 to 67 inches. I think this sweater is quite straightforward. You knit it from the top to bottom. I've knitted Andrea Mowry's pattern before, and I really like her style of writing it. Right, let's stay in the color work category, but move over to the DK weight of yarn. The first pattern I have in this category is called Alice Sweater by Sarah Opie. I've never heard of Sarah Opie before, but I had this pattern in my favorites for a long time. I really, really enjoy the color work on the yoke that also repeated on the sleeves. The same feel as the Ooey Gooey actually. A raglan sweater with these diamond shaped pops of color. As I said, it's a DK yarn weight, 20 stitches by 10 centimeters, so it's a true DK gauge. Her sizes includes a chest circumference between 90 centimeters to 172 centimeters, or 36 to 68 inches. This type of color work for me is really a way to find a fun one skein or two skein type of yarn and really make that the key of a pattern. And I do have some skeins of yarn that I would like to use in this exact pattern. So we'll see if I can get time to create that this year. That would be lovely. Pattern number 6, I believe, is called the Rosy Sweater by Lenit. When I saw this, I was searching for just a little bit more of a bulky DK sweater, just perfect for early winter or well, to be fair, winter. And I came across this picture and I just fell in love with the motif. It is different type of color work than what we maybe usually see is color work on the yoke and then sort of plain body. That makes the knit for me quite boring because you go through the yoke and then you sort of is left with the body. But here you repeat it once over the body or over the yoke and then once more over the body. So you have this secondary color work to look forward to. And also I feel like leaving the yoke very plain also probably helps the knit as far as the increases and the German short rows and all of that. You don't have to do that in color work. You can do that just plain, and then you can deal with color work after the fact. This sweater is definitely gonna go on my to-do list very quickly, quite high on my to-do list. I really like this one. It is a lace plus a fingering weight. That means DK, but I have a feeling I'm gonna just do it in one strand of DK. 21 stitches in by 10 centimeters is the gauge. And she has a size availability of from XXS to 5XL. And I believe this is a Swedish designer or a Norwegian designer. I'm not really sure which one. She also says that she has designed it to have approximately 20 to 32 centimeter positive ease. That is a lot. This makes this sweater quite boxy, which is something I usually don't wear a lot of, but I'm super happy to try it. When you've done a couple of raglan and drop shoulder plain sweaters, you sort of, I at least look for something different, and this seems a little bit different. So that's quite exciting. The last color work design I'm gonna feature is a pattern that I found in a book, but it's also on Ravelry. So I will show you the pictures from Ravelry, of course. It's called Krans, and it's by the Swedish designer Maja Karlsson. It's published in this book called Koftor, which means cardigans, and it is a cardigan. However, I will knit it as a sweater, so I will not knit it with the button band. I will fuse it together and then knit it in a round. What really drew me to this pattern was this krans, which is a garland or wreath in Swedish that goes along the yoke. And to me, that is very Christmassy, specifically with these colors, which I think I'm gonna follow. I really like the dark green. You could do it in red, but maybe that is too much Christmas. This is quite a heavy gauge. It's an Aran weight, 18 stitches per 10 centimeters. And she actually suggests Let Lopi from Istex. I will not use Let Lopi, but I will use some thicker Aran weight wool, I think. Her sizes are between XS and 4XL, and I've seen and read the pattern and the book. Then the way she writes the pattern is, well, you have to be quite used to knitting, I think, if you want to read her patterns, because she doesn't give a lot of instructions. She gives instructions, she doesn't really give a lot of explanations maybe. But for me that works fine, so I'm happy to knit this up. And as I said, this pattern is as a cardigan, but I will knit it as a sweater. You could also steek it, of course, in the end, but I think I will have more wear out of this as a sweater than as a cardigan. However, I will knit a couple of cardigans, and that is my next category, cardigans / vests. The first pattern is Tursa by Natasha Hornby, which is Moonstruck Knits. I was attending a retreat with Natasha in June, but I have seen this one before that and really fell in love with it. This is the sweater, or this is the cardigan, this is the pattern I did cast on the 1st of September. It's a mosaic color work cardigan / jacket. I'm making it Istex sport weight yarn, and that's gonna have me make a little bit rougher feel and therefore a little bit more like a jacket type of garment. She recommends DK 20 stitches by 10 centimeters, and that is the gauge I got of this sport weight Istex Fialalopi yarn. This is a really interesting construction because you cast on a lot of stitches and you cast on all the stitches from one end of your sleeve all the way over the body and to the second sleeve. So you do knit a lot of stitches per round, and then you start knitting downwards from there. I've never done mosaic color work before, and I do enjoy it, I must say, specifically when it's not in the round and you have to travel backwards and forward. I don't tend to purl when I do my cardigans. I tend to mirror knit, and with a color work, that is then of course a little bit tricky when you mirror knit color work. With mosaic knitting, you only work one strand at a time, which makes the color work and the mirror knitting a lot easier. So she has 6 sizes available, in between a finished bust measurement from 107 to 167 centimeters, or 42.75 to 66.75 inches. And you're supposed to be wearing it open. You're supposed to have quite a roomy fit of 15 to 30 centimeters of positive ease. I think I'm using the size 3, which gives me a 131 finished bust measurements, and that should get me quite a roomy jacket for the fall. That's the plan, at least. The second cardigan is the Villa Wrap by Anne Wenzel. I am at the moment also knitting one of her cardigans, the Cardi Cocoon. So although I find her pattern technique, or the way she writes her pattern, quite confusing at times, she doesn't give a lot of instructions. When I saw this Villa Wrap in real life, knitted up, I really liked it. It is quite a short cardigan, but very oversized. So it's one of those either under the jacket or just in your couch type of wraps that you would like just to wear around the house. It is an Aran weight, so it's quite a thick gauge. So 18 stitches per 10 centimeters, and the needle size is 5mm needle size, so it's quite big. She's only 4 sizes available, but since this is not a fitted garment, I'm guessing that's the reason, and you're supposed to just overshoot it and have it as a quite oversized cardigan. The thing that drew me was these big panels as a rib or a button band without buttons, and this stripe effect of the cardigan itself. I feel like you cannot make these kind of videos without having at least one petite knit pattern. You can, of course, but no. My choice from petite knit will be the Lulu slipover. I think a vest or a slipover like this is a great transitional piece. You can still wear it with layers, so either a t-shirt if it's really warm, or a long sleeve t-shirt. You can fancy things up a little bit and put a white shirt underneath, for example, for the office. I really like the side. Well, I really like the color, which is gonna be really nice in the winter time or the fall. What drew me really was the side with the button and that feature. It is supposed to be knitted up in a true DK, 20 stitches per 10 centimeters. It has quite a range of sizes, of course, being petite knit, XXS to 5X. And then we're gonna finish up with what I think is like the true sweater. 2 sweater patterns that I definitely will knit this fall. First is the Carly sweater by Knitting for Olive, Pernilla Larsen. She has made a Carly tee, which is out on Ravelry, but I couldn't find the Carly sweater on Ravelry, but I did find it on her website. I have a big stash of drop air in this old pink color that I have wanted to knit with this fall, and I have searched for the perfect, simple, sort of classic sweater for this purpose, and I think the Carly sweater really hits all the items on my checklist. It has this big collar. It is oversized, big, chunky sweater, quite plain, and I think that works quite well with this drops air. But what drew me to it was I knew I didn't want to have a drop shoulder technique because I think that doesn't really suit my body frame the best. And a raglan sweater I've done already. But this Carly sweater has this saddle shoulder and what I think is a built-in sleeve with that. I don't think I've done that before, and that's why it drew me to it, because I really want to try that. What I will also do, you can see that it has this big rib in the bottom, and I think I will have a split hemmed rib as well, just to have a little bit more of a oversized slopey feel of this sweater. I'll see when I get there what I want to do with it. Really excited about that. And this is definitely going to be one of the next things I put on my needles, I think. Sizes is between XS and 5XL with a finished chest circumference of 95 to 152 centimeters, or about 37 to about 59 inches. And she recommends a ease of about 20 centimeters, I think, if I do the rough estimation here quickly. Gauge would be 20 stitches by 10 centimeters, so a true DK. So I think that is quite nice for this type of garment. Now, last but not least, pattern from Natasha Hornby. When you knit sweaters, what, for me at least, becomes the problem is the second sleeve and finishing the body. It's called the sleeve island, this problem of not finishing the sleeves. Therefore, I think the Bente by Natasha would be quite a good solution to that problem. The construction of Natasha's, if Natasha Hornby, I would say, would be known for anything, she's known for a lot of things, but that is definitely from my point of view, is that her construction in her patterns are always so thought through and special. She really does something completely unique in her construction. And Bente looks like the same thing here. It is a drop shoulder with a big chunky collar, but what she then does is that the sleeves are completely cabled. It's a very intricate cable design. So choosing a yarn that makes these cables pop, I think, is the key. Having an all cabled sweater like this is really tough on the knitter, and it takes a long time. But then to have a construction that is interesting in the beginning, doing the body, and then having fun in the sleeves, I think that's might be the perfect recipe of a good sweater. This is a chunky sweater, but supposed to be not so oversized. It looks like it shouldn't be that oversized. It's Aran weight and 16 stitches per 10 centimeters. So that also to me makes it a quite fast knit, because it's quite on the chunkier side of yarn, at least what the yarn I'm using. Her sizes ranges between XS and 3X with a chest circumference of 85 to 147.5 centimeters, which is 33.5 to 58 inches. You're supposed to have 7.5 centimeter ease, so that's on the lower side compared to all the other sweaters actually. She has the option of crew neck and this huge collar, which is nice to give two options, and I definitely am gonna have the collar with it. Collar. Right. I hope this made you feel inspired for trying something new and putting the new fall knit on your needles. It definitely inspired me, and I definitely have a great, if not this year, because I don't think I'm gonna get through it all this year, but I have a great source of inspiration for the years to come as well. Let me know what your plans for the fall is, and if you're gonna knit any of these ones that I have on my list. And I wish you, as always, a wonderful knitting experience, a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next podcast. Bye.